Virgo, welcome to Yellow Cardinal Tarot with me. My name is Carol, and this is going to be a general reading for the month of May 2025. And in today's reading, I'm going to be looking at your healing journey. In particular, I'm going to look at an issue that you're dealing with. And before I do that, I'm going to look at the past of this situation. So I want to know what the origin of it is. So I want to kind of get a backstory of it. And then we'll look at the present situation, where you're at with it right now and what you need to focus on presently. And then we'll go to the future. And we're going to look at some possibilities of a future outcome for you if you start to heal this, you start to look at this. And finally, we'll get a message that you need to understand, a final message for you. So in order to do your reading, I'm going to use some cards from Healing Yourself. And this is a deck by Ines Segal. And so there's some guidance cards there for you. And then I'm going to take the Ehrenberg Tarot and also the Radiant Rider-Waite to clarify that. So I'm going to put you on speed shuffle right now while I set up your reading, and I'll be back in just a bit. All right, Virgo, let's look at the origin of the situation. I'll start off with, you have the Courage card in reverse. And when these cards come, these healing cards come in reverse, it really means that this is what Ines said in her book, that it's something that you need to focus on, like almost in the next 7 days or so. It's something that needs immediate attention for you. So you have the Courage card. Courage requires you to fearlessly stride ahead despite the challenges that you are experiencing. Whether you're afraid of success or failure, you cannot stay where you are. You need to make a decision and move forward with belief, trust, and boldness. Give it your all, no matter the outcome. Despite what you've been telling yourself, you are ready for a new adventure and another chance to prove that you have what it takes to face life's challenges. Stop investing in limitations, lack, and dysfunction. Every blessing has a challenge, and every challenge contains a blessing. So you're being asked to gather the courage to be who you truly are and stand strong for your convictions. So it sounds like there's an area of your life right now where fear is blocking you from moving forward. And I think a lot of people, because of the situation that's going on in the world right now, that a lot of us are, really living in some fear. And I think we have to become aware of that. So there's something that's preventing you from moving forward, and there's some courage that's needed here for you to face this fear that you're sitting in. And why are you sitting in it? Like, what's the fear here? What's preventing you from moving forward? And you have the Five of Wands as your first card from tarot that backs this up. So Five of Wands talks about, in an upright position, it talks about, I like the depiction of this card, and I was called to use this deck. And in particular, I find that this Five of Wands card is fascinating for me because it's like this individual is looking in a mirror, and I know the wand isn't a mirror, but in this particular card, I read it like this, where he's looking in a mirror and he sees, himself, but obviously it's somebody different. And so the Five of Wands card for me is where our ego self can really convince us, can really play tricks on our mind and convince us that we're not as good, or we're not as strong, or we're not like the others, and I think it's time for you to listen to, what kind of things are you saying to yourself when you look in the mirror? What's your ego self telling you? It is our ego self that will keep us in fear, because the ego self is a really, really, really scared part. And it's going to keep you in fear. It's going to tell you, no, you can't do this. No, you're not good enough. No, you're not smart enough. No, you're not this. So you have to become aware of these things that your ego self is telling you over and over in your head. And because this Ten of Swords comes out, and it's fascinating that this card comes out because the sword itself is our mental energy, their mental belief systems. So when you were younger, you had all these things that people told you. All of these things are these belief systems that you continue to believe about yourself. You're not good enough. You're stupid. What do you think you are? Who do you think you are? And these are things that you continue, that your ego self continues to repeat over and over and over again in your head. And look what it's done to you. Look what it's done to you. And look what it's doing to you. It's keeping you down. It's not allowing you to be that individual, that authentic self that's underneath that, underneath all those belief systems. And you have the Five of Cups card as a final card here for your present situation, the origin. And in an upright position, the Five of Cups talks about this individual that is focusing on these three spilt cups. Can't see the water that's flowing, right? There's the water in my cards. It's emotions, these emotions that are meant to flow, that you are pushing down, that your ego self is making you afraid of. It's like, no, you can't go near these emotions. There's some emotions here that are wanting to come out that you have pushed down. And I'm wondering if you're feeling like you've been really in a lot of a state of almost like paralysis, maybe, because this is in reverse. Maybe in an upright, this is like, oh, I'm feeling like really hopeless. These three cups are spilt and I'm not even noticing these other two over here. I don't notice the silver lining on that bridge over there that I can go over. There's a way to get out of this, but I think you have really almost to a point of giving up here because you're listening to these Ten of Swords, these belief systems that people have told you, Virgo, when you were growing up, and you're repeating them in your head, and that's what's keeping you all in this fear, right? Our ego has a tendency. It's funny because if you really listen to those things that you hear about yourself when you look in the mirror, you know, these things when you look in your mirror and you hear all these things, what your ego self tells you, it repeats the things that people told you when you were younger. It's fascinating how it repeats those things because the ego wants to keep you, it's trying to keep you safe. It still thinks you're a child, so it tries to keep you in a safe place. It doesn't realize you're an adult now, and we forget we're an adult now. We keep hearing these things, right? And so where are you right now with this? What do you need to focus on right now? Well, the card that probably nobody wants to get, it's not so bad, this one, but it's like, it's the Patience card, right? It's not the Temperance, but it's patience. So you must develop patience in all areas of your life. So patience does not mean that you give up and do nothing. And, you know, I'm wondering, and I did talk about how maybe you're in a state of paralysis, right? So on the contrary, you need to be aware of several aspects of the circumstance that you are facing. Patience requires you to stop pushing, rushing, and creating potentially explosive situations. Instead, it asks you to see the bigger picture and become aware of the ingredients that you might be missing. If you are impatient with a particular person, instead give them space. Avoid jumping to conclusions and making up dramatic stories about a person or a situation without being fully aware of all of the details. You have an opportunity to let go of judgment. Always look for the truth of the situation and not what someone is saying or doing, but why. So patience can also be connected to a health condition you are recovering from. A new diet or an exercise program you have embarked on, or a new course of study that you may have just begun. So where do you need to see the bigger picture right now? You know, I think there's a real big part of your life right here that you know, what all these things you've been telling yourself, but where do you you need to see the bigger picture right now. And right behind it is the Hermit card, which is fascinating because I think that's what you need right now. Because I think you're very much up in your head. The ego's keeping you up there with all these things it keeps telling you. So how do you get out of your head when you're telling yourself all these things? Well, the Hermit card comes in to say, well, now it's time to take your excuse me, your focus from your head, and it's time to go into our body. It's time to focus on getting grounded into our body, because the Hermit card speaks of going inwards. I think there's a real need for you right now to go inwards, because there's a lot of fear in your system. And so you have to find out, well, where is this coming from? Why do I feel so much fear right now? You know, there's a reason why, but what is it? What's underneath all that fear? What is the ego afraid of? Because that fear is your ego's fear. And when you can start to get back into your body and clear away some of that fear, so you can start to see what's underneath that. And underneath that is a little Page of Cups. And the Page of Cups, and right now you're not hearing it, it's an inner child. My pages are our inner children, and our inner children need to be listened to. They need to be understood. They need to be heard. They have a voice. They're here to tell you something. There's something they want to share with you. And this particular Page of Cups is that if there's any inner child that you need to really hear and heal, they need to be healed, but they can only be healed when we start to listen to them and hear them. Because this particular page, this inner child, is my little love seeker, I call it. It is the one, if I had to pick the most important card on this table, it would be this one, because it's the one that wreaks the most havoc in our life. It is the one that's going to continue to be that little people pleaser. It's going to be the one that continues to be that little chameleon that puts on all these masks, and it goes out and tries to get all it turns into that person that we think we need to be around everybody we meet. And in particular, it's going to invite toxic people into our life, because it's going to try to get the love that we didn't get when we were a child. And it's going to keep on inviting all these toxic people into our life. And because it's trying to get love from them. And so I'm thinking here that the courage that you need, there's something that you need to look at here. Because this card that comes in right on behind this love seeker is this Death card. And the Death card speaks about, look at this person, it's all these people become dead to this person. It's walking past, it's walking through these individuals right here. It's time to let somebody go in your life. This Death card talks about old habits that need to go, you know, old places, old people that need to go in our life. And so what is it in your life that needs to go? Who in your life needs to go? What is it in your life that needs to go? And I think there's some real courage here, because I think for a long time you've told yourself, this is the way things are, this is, maybe you've told yourself that this is what you deserve, right? And I think when we're adults, this little page tends to attract these toxic individuals in our life. And we convince ourselves that this is what I deserve because that's what you got when you were younger. So it almost becomes familiar to you to invite these kind of toxic people in your life when you know deep down that this is not for me. And so there's some real courage here that's needed for you. So what are the possible possibilities of future outcome for you? You start to heal this little page. You know, oftentimes our little page, our little love seeker, there's a heck of a lot of grieving that they need to do, you know, because of what happened to you when you were younger. There's also some real shame in there, some unworthiness that you need to heal. And so what are the possibilities? What are the future outcomes here? Well, you have number 19, which is temptation card. Temptation card comes in for you as their future possibilities. Life is full of temptations, and right now you're being asked to choose the higher path. You need to prove that you are worthy. Wow. You need to prove that you are worthy. That's what it says. And important. And, your need to prove that you are worthy and important is clouding your true purpose and tempting you to make wrong decisions. So you're maybe stuck in a place, a situation, a habit where you're continuing to, just little love seekers trying to prove that you're worthy. You know, picture a child that's running around, that's not getting the love they need, and they misbehave and they do all kinds of things because they're trying to prove that they're worthy. Like, look at me, and I got to get attention by showing you that I'm a bad kid, and so they'll get in trouble because they just want attention, you know. And it's like, and then you turn into an adult and you continue to prove that you're not worthy. You continue to find ways. It's almost like we find ways to show ourselves that, see, you're not worthy because this person has showed you that and told you that. Become aware of what's happening in your life right now. Are you feeling bored in a relationship and looking for something outside of your partnership instead of being honest and working on the challenges that you're experiencing, or moving on? Is there a work opportunity that is tempting you to act without integrity in order to get ahead? Are you using money as an excuse not to follow your heart? This card asks you to focus on the bigger picture. Be honest with yourself and take the higher path. Another opportunity that is much grander than what you have imagined is on its way. Just to be open to it and allow it into your life. This is a general reading, so you know you're going to know what this means for you in your life. And right behind it, you have this Empress card. There's a real call for you here. The Empress talks about this feminine side to us, these feminine qualities that we have. It has nothing to do with gender. But the Empress in particular is one that lives very, very close to her heart. She lives in her body. She feels all her emotions. She's in reverse right now because I think you might be feeling, you're not in touch with, you're not in your body. You're not feeling all those hard emotions that you're needing to feel right now. And there's a real call for you to get grounded, to get still, so that you can get back into your body and start to feel some of these emotions. And then you have the Ten of Pentacles that comes right behind everything that clarifies, as well as the Nine of Pentacles. The Ten of Pentacles, and it's in reverse because you're not aware of this. Ten of Pentacles is my card of lineage. It has this Kabbalistic tree of life right here. It's the formation, comes from the Jewish culture. It's a formation of the Kabbalistic tree of life. And every pentacle or every node on this tree of life talks about, you study it in their culture and it gets you in touch with your lineage and who you are. And this is very much for me a card of lineage and things that are handed down to us, trauma that's handed down to us. And so what things you're going to get in touch with, the trauma or the things that were handed down to you from your parents and from the lineage that you belong to. There's something here that you need to heal, that you have, that's continuing. It's like a pattern that's continuing, right? And then you have the Nine of Pentacles that comes in. And this is kind of like, people call this an abundance card. It could be, but in order to bring abundance into your life, in order to make change in your life, to me, this card is also a card of committing yourself. Like, what are you willing to commit to? Like, what really matters to you, right? And this is something that is you need to decide. I think when you start to really take the focus inwards and getting in touch with this little child of yours that holds your memories, that holds your trauma, that holds your truth. and holds these emotions that you need to get in touch with. And so you can start to uncover, okay, what is it? What is it in my lineage that I need to get in touch with that needs healing? And so what do you need to understand? What's the final message for you, Virgo, here? Well, I think there's some real self-love. Number 24, self-love. I think you need to take some time out, and it's in reverse because, you know, like I said, it's something you really need to focus on right now. Take time out to get to know yourself and what works for you in this particular cycle of your life. Some of the biggest obstacles to self-love are self-criticism and perfectionism. And you know, Virgo, you are a sign that is perfectionist. And you want things right, and you want to get them done perfectly. And sometimes that can be a detriment to us, right? Because perfectionism and self-criticism can be big obstacles to self-love, which lead to harsh judgment of the self, closing down, and eventually illness. Perfectionism is actually a sign of a lot of shame that we carry in us. You know, when we're told that we're not good enough, so that we spend our life being perfectionists so that we can try to be good enough, right? Make sure that we are good enough all the time. Have you been trying to compete with others, get approval from people in your family, or simply pushing yourself too hard? Very interesting that you had that card at the beginning, that one where you look in the mirror and you see somebody different, right? How your ego self will keep you there in that perfectionist mode. If so, you need to soften and start listening to your body. Focus on keeping your heart open and practice acknowledging and recognizing the good in yourself and others. You know, the Empress card, I talked about how she's holding this apple close to her heart, keeping open to you, to your emotions. This card beckons you to breathe love in and out every moment of the day. Ask yourself, what changes do I need to make to my daily routine so that love can pulsate through every breath, action, and relationship that I engage in? And that's that. What am I willing to commit to? And I think the person that you need to commit to is you. Choose to open your heart through softness, deep breathing, and that's going to get you connected in your body. Relaxation, movement, finding beauty in nature, in your home, in your pain, in your love, in your sadness, in prayer. Keep your heart open even though it makes you feel vulnerable and exposed. That's the hardest part, is to keep your heart open. Because your ego self is right behind this self-love card right here. And your ego self is the king in my deck. It's the masculine side of us. Notice how this king has a sword. And the sword talks about our true self, our authenticity, and who we really are, right? Who we really are. And this king, this ego self, doesn't want us to know who we really are. It'll block us. It'll want you to keep putting on those masks, you know, those perfectionism masks, pretending that you're someone who you're not. And so you have to be aware that your ego is going to, you know, we talked about the ego at the beginning and how you look in the mirror and you see this other person that's not you. And when are you going to look in that mirror and start to see you, your true authentic self? And beware that this ego is going to keep on trying to say things to you, because right behind it is the Queen of Cups. And she's here. She's the feminine side to us. The Queen of Cups, the Queen of Emotions. Look at her feet and how all of this water's flowing around her. This is the feminine side to us. This is the side of our emotions, like the Empress. She's the feminine side. She's in her body. She feels all her emotions. There's a real call for you to get back in your body, to get grounded, and to feel these tough emotions. You know, like the ones like shame, the ones that cause your perfectionism, the ones that keeps putting on your mask every single day and says, I gotta be perfect to all these people that I meet. And the universe final message here, what's going to happen once you start to get back in your body and start to feel these big emotions like shame and grief that are going to heal this little inner child right here. Well, you have a promise here of the Four of Wands. And the Four of Wands are like these individuals that are walking away from this walled city, and they're celebrating. This is a celebration card. And you know what they're celebrating? They're celebrating their freedom. They're celebrating their freedom from these walls that you have created around yourself of, you know, I need to be perfect. And I'm going to break down some of those walls. I'm going to start walking out here. This is my freedom. You're going to start tasting some of your freedom. When you start to taste some of your authentic self and who you are, and start, you know, taking some of these masks off. And you can do that by really getting in your body and grieving that younger child of yours that didn't get that love and that attention that they needed when they were younger. And then you start to feel the real you comes out, right? I'm going to leave you with a video that I did on my other channel called Carol Cares. And it's a video that talks about, you know, there's a part in there. It's called My Most 10 Powerful Lessons That I've Learned on My Own Healing Journey. And it talks about that part about freedom. That comes, it's the last one, I think, actually. The last point in it was the freedom that I started to taste when I started getting into my body and feeling all my emotions and finding out who I really am. And it's beautiful because it's freedom. It's freedom from all those masks that you carry around all your life. So Virgo, I want you to have compassion for yourself for what you're working through. This is the most difficult journey of your life, this healing journey, but it's the most important one. So take care until we talk next. Bye.